Hey everyone, Brandon Quinn here, thanks for joining. In this video, we're going to take a look at an interesting but counterintuitive puzzle from my book Mental Mosaics called Student Loan Debt. A man named Ryan graduated from college exactly 5 years ago with $100,000 of student loan debt at a 5% interest rate, which is applied month over month. Over these 5 years, he's been paying into the loan the same amount of money each month. If he currently owes $120,000, 1. How much has he been paying toward the loan per month? And 2. What would he need to start paying to ensure he pays off the loan in full in 20 years, including the additional $20,000? You can assume that Ryan started making payments at the time he graduated and that interest started accumulating at that same time. You can also assume that interest accrues at the beginning of each month and monthly payments are made at the end of each month. Pause the video now if you want to try this problem for yourself, and when you're ready, come back and we'll review the answer. To start, let's assess how his payments relate to the overall debt. So at the start, he owed $100,000, and in the 5 years since, he's made exactly 60 payments, one payment per month. But now he owes $120,000, $20,000 more than the original. That means that the amount he's been paying into the debt is less than the amount of interest that's been accruing over that period. So in order to figure out what his monthly payment was, we'll have to figure out the total interest accrued over that time period and the partial interest that he's paid month over month, which will also tell us the amount of interest that's been accruing onto the principal month over month. In order to calculate the total amount of interest accrued, we need to use the compound interest formula shown here, where P is the initial amount owed, R is the interest rate, N is the number of payments in the year, T is the number of years, giving us A, the final amount owed including the interest. In our case, P is equal to 100,000, R is equal to 0.05, N is equal to 12, and T is equal to 5. This gives us a total of A is equal to $128,335.87. Next, let's take a look at this formula, which tells us the amount he's paid in total given a monthly payment amount of M. We can't solve for M directly at this point, but we can simplify everything else to help us solve for M when we combine it back with the principal with interest. Simplifying everything, we see that the total amount paid is M times 68.01. Now let's put everything together. The total remaining principal is A is equal to C minus P, where C is the total with compounded interest, which we know is $128,335.87. P is the amount paid, which we know is M times 68.01. And A is the amount remaining, which we know from the problem is $120,000. What we need to do here is solve for M. We'll solve for M by combining everything we've found so far and then simplifying it further and further until we get M is equal to 8,335.87 divided by 68.01, which equals roughly 122.57, which corresponds to a monthly payment of $122.57. So with that, we have the solution to the first part of the problem. Now, we need to figure out what new monthly payment would allow Ryan to pay off the current debt of $120,000 in full in 20 years. To find this, we can use the same exact strategy we used for the first part of the problem, except change the parameters. So in this case, A, the amount remaining, is 0 because we want the debt to be paid in full by the end of the 20 years. C, the total with the compounded interest, is $120,000, which is the current debt. And P, the amount paid, is equal to M times some quantity. And in this case, we would solve for M also in the same way we did previously. Here we have the monthly payment formula set up the same as before. The only difference is that we have 20 years now instead of 5. Factoring all of that in, we have a total of M times 411.03. Next, we'll calculate the total amount of principal with interest over the 20 years, assuming you hadn't paid anything, which comes out to $325,516.83. Lastly, we'll put it all together just like we did in the first part of the problem. So we can set it up 0 is equal to 325,516.87 minus M times 411.03. And working through all of that logic, we see that M, the new monthly payment, is equal to $791.95. That means that if you wanted to pay it off in 20 years, Ryan would have to increase his monthly payment from $122.57 to a whopping $791.95. It might seem counterintuitive or even nonsensical that Ryan paid a monthly amount for 5 years into his loan and still ended up with a higher loan principal than when he started, but those kind of situations can and do occur in real-life scenarios. I hope you've enjoyed this puzzle. If you did, I highly recommend you check out my puzzle books Mental Mosaics and Hexakai, where I have hundreds of puzzles on a wide array of topics and difficulty levels. Links to both books are in the description below. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.